See, it is Paul Lynch piloting Miracles. So Lynch will start off turn one with a Sensei's Divining Top. Not going to be contested by Donnegan. As he'll make Deathrite Shaman. No lands in either player's graveyard just yet, though.
Donnegan has a couple Wastelands in hand, but Lynch both has Basic Island.
And didn't fetch for it, yeah.
It's immune to that Wasteland, and also turn one play the Sensei's Divining Top. That's going to be best possible as a starter for the Miracles deck. And a second Basic Island for the land drop for Lynch, casting a Ponder. Donnegan's hand not looking to line up terribly well just yet.
No, right now, yeah, double basic, no lands in the graveyard, so it's not actually mana acceleration, as Paul's just going to try to keep pace, keep making land drops. Now on Paul Lynch's side, you see a Terminus on the top. It's something he can float. Does not have the white mana yet in play. Looks like he buried it all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, some deliberation whether to have that as the second or the third card there.
Sure, that much makes sense. Go back over to Donnegan's second turn. Can he put a land in the graveyard? When Paul's deck is playing all basics and not fetching for any of them, the Stifle Days Wasteland strategy of Delver is really put in an awkward position.
Yes. As things stands, Donnegan controls a 1-2 and a 1-1. Not a terribly exciting start for things.
No, he'll put Delver Secrets into play and then pass. So he's choosing not to put Wastelands on the board.
Disguising the fact that he has them, though Lynch just has a bunch of basic lands.
Yeah, now playing basic planes. None of these are things he fetched for. Full 7 basic lands in Paul Lynch's deck. But fortunately for Donnegan, he does have flip his Delver off of Brainstorm. But here's kind of the catch. Remember that earlier Ponder, Paul had buried a Terminus 2 cards deep, and now it's on top of his deck. He will use the Divining Top to miracle it and clean up the board.
Donnegan's losing both of his creatures here. Still no targets for those Wastelands. Things are not going the way that he wanted them to. And he's going to cast that Brainstorm. He does find a fetch land here, so he can clean up his hand a little bit. Yeah, he's going to crack that Fledged Strand, shuffle 2 cards away. I believe one of those Wastelands going, and I think a Fatal Push was the other card he's getting rid of. That makes sense. Finds Underground Sea, casts Deathrite Shaman.
So he gets to he has recovered some. You go back to Paul, he'll draw that Divining Top that he put on top of his deck. You see now 4th land, a possibility of Jace, double Divining Top, all for Paul Lynch. Looks like he's going to pick Snapcaster Mage. Go ahead and flash back that Ponder, just continue to develop the board.
It's a fairly aggressive use of the Snapcaster Mage. I very much agree with not casting Jace on this turn into Daze.
Yeah, I mean, is there a possibility here that if he can't answer Deathrite Shaman, this is his last chance to pull off this play?
Yeah, there's a good chance that maybe the Snapcaster Mage is not going to do anything with that Shaman sticking around.
As he will keep the top 3, draws 1. There was a Terminus somewhere in that, interestingly. It's either 1 card down, or it's either the next draw, or it's 1 card under. See Divining Top for Paul, and no Daze at all from Donnegan. He will waste away the Tundra from Lynch, and now gets to stick a true name Nemesis on the board, and that's actually a sign of life here for Dylan Donnegan. Now you get to see where is the Terminus. Is it top card or is it 1 more down? Paul will just draw. Looks like 1 more. Draws Swords to Plowshares.
And with the Terminus not happening now, if Donnegan is able to produce a Stifle on tap with mana for that, if he already has one in hand, he can
Stifle the Miracle trigger.
Yeah, put a wrench in the system there.
Volcanic Island from Paul Lynch. Hand of Swords to Plowshares, another Divining Top, another land, and Jace will pass. And on upkeep, there we go. Now the 1 under is the Terminus that he saw on the Ponder. So Paul is going to once again sweep the board away.
That's the second time Donnegan has been 2 for 1 in this game.
And you see the issue here is with the Delver's strategy. Some of his cards really not able to convert. Looks like both Daze and Fatal Push in Dylan's hand. It'll be hard for him to turn those into anything that matters.
Right.
Sure, Fatal Push can hit a Snapcaster Mage. With Revolt, it can hit a Monastery Mentor, but that's not really the game plan he wants to be on. For Paul, it'll be a 5th land, and now he's going to play a Jace the Mind Sculptor. It's the one he had in his opener, waiting to play around Daze with it, and it looks like it will resolve.
And now Donnegan's in all kinds of trouble. Jace the Mind Sculptor is still very much capable of winning games all on its own.
Yeah, I guess the question is, are we going to see anything like Maelstrom Pulse out of Dylan's deck, some way to cleanly answer the Planeswalker?
Does not have any of that, just Abrupt Decay for dealing with permanence, and Jace happens to cost 4.
No clean way to answer that. This looks dire for Dylan Donnegan. Other matches going on this round. Right now we have the team of Mitchell, Mousen, and Flynn playing on table 1. They pick up a win, so they move to 36 points, likely into top 4. It looks like there will be 5 teams that X3 are better. So could be a 1 team missing on tiebreakers.
And Dylan Donnegan. Keep calling him. I always call him Dilligan.
So, yeah.
It's just, I think he should go by that. But he has seen enough with that Jace the Mind Sculptor. He picks up his cards.
It's one of those Marvel superhero names. You know, you get the first and last name, same letter.
You know what I think, actually? It's Gilligan's Island is just like somewhere in my brain. That's what the problem is.
Okay. But yeah, first game goes to Paul Lynch on Miracles. He'll defeat Dylan Donnegan there. So we look over the sideboards. So looking at Sultai Delver, Dylan does have some counter spells and maybe some discards set up here, though he can't really turn in. I was going to wonder if he was going to play a more control-esque strategy, board into a deck that's similar to the Sam Party deck. It doesn't look like he has that line available to him, so he's going to maybe have to keep an aggressive posture. Yeah,
he's going to continue to need to be on the beatdown plan. That's just his role in the matchup. He can interact, to be sure, but he has to be the aggressor. He does have some ways to shut down what Lynch is up to. He has those 2 Pithing Needles. Those will come in. Those can turn on Sensei's Divining Top or Jace the Mind Sculptor if things come to that. Flusterstorm is okay. It's not great in these blue mirrors where the cards you care about tend to be an enchantment and counterbalance and a Planeswalker and Jace the Mind Sculptor, as well as a creature and Monastery Mentor. So that's not great. But the Sylvan Library is excellent. It can generate some card advantage.
Now Paul Lynch on Miracles gets to mix up the kind of removal spells he wants to have. He has 3 Wear Tears, 3 Surgicals, some Pyroblasts, Containment Priests, Flusterstorms, and then a couple more removal, along with a Gideon Ally of Zendikar, a card I don't always see that much stuff in Legacy.
Yeah, another powerful 4-mana Planeswalker makes sense in a matchup like this, as long as he can get it around any kind of days. Getting that on the battlefield is very powerful. The Red Blast, the Pyroblast, those are good. That all seems
great.
Flusterstorms, again, okay, not great. I expect at least 1 Wear Tear to come in. When you play Miracles, you almost always bring in at least one of these.
Well, so this reminds me of when about 2 years ago we would see a lot of these Stifle Wasteland Days, all 4 of Delver decks. It seemed like the way Miracles would win their games in this matchup would be kind of what Paul's doing, where if they just play a basic land every turn and don't fetch for any of them, it always seemed very hard for the Delver deck to win.
Right.
You know, basic plains, swords your guy. Basic island, go. Basic island, play some kill spell.
Yeah, basic lands are pretty overpowered.
It is interesting that that's the strength, right? Here, we're playing Legacy, and the best part is that Paul can naturally draw basics.
Right.
Well, they're going to have a second game, see whether or not Paul can do that again. Now remember, it's not just top 4 of this on the line for the players. For the winning team, all the players will get an invite to the Star City Invitational at the end of Season 1. Now you too can get an invite to that event with the Star City's Invitational qualifiers. These are tournaments run at your stores all around the country. They have exclusive prizes to them. It's $1,000 for the top 8, qualification to the next Invitational. You get points for the SCG Tour to help you earn buys at these events. You get a top 8 pin, playmat, and then tokens just for registering. And for this season, we're giving away the art A Smashing Success. You see that playmat art original by Kristen Plesko. And those are happening, these happenings are happening for all the way until June for this event. So you can find out where one is near you at starcitygames.com/IQ.
This is a great title for that piece. You see, he was successful smashing.
What was he smashing?
Some kind of giant robot.
Fair enough. That's what red barbarians do, and monkeys.
Man's natural predator, the giant robot.
I like the flavor where you have, what is it, a bunch of monkeys blow up artifacts, because it's like, you know, like monkeys don't understand tech. It's like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Monkey doesn't like technology. Turn 1, Deathrite Shaman for Dylan. This game, however, there will be plenty of lands in the graveyard for it. As if it survives. Paul fetches for basic planes and swords that away. Go back to Donnegan, going to reload for another threat with Ponder.
And I think he was looking for a land there as he picked up a Flooded Strand, and I believe that's the only land that he has here for a second land. Yeah,
there are actually some other nice cards on top of his deck, but because he has to take the Flooded Strand, we're going to shuffle those away. Plays Delver of Secrets off the land. This one will be an attempt at a blind flip, though, as he had to shuffle for the Tropical.
Outside of leaving stuff on top with Ponder, it's usually incorrect to aggressively brainstorm to flip, so most of the flips are, in fact, blind. It almost makes more sense to describe flips that are controlled and just call other flips flips.
Fair enough. Another basic straight out of the hand from Paul Lynch. Basic Island. You know, one of the things we're noticing with these Miracles decks, we've had a lot of them on camera today, the card Counterbalance has been mostly absent.
Frequently what happens when you know that your opponent is playing Abrupt Decay is you sideboard out your counterbalances. Though you're right, we did not see it in game 1 here either.
Another Swords to Plowshares, though. That's a great card for Paul. He continues to trade 1-mana spells with Dylan. His removal for Dylan's creatures. And back to Donnegan. Does not hit another land. Looking to get some sort of pressure on the table. If he can land a creature, he can start defending it with his tempo-based counter spells.
He did find a Thoughtseize as well, so he can get an idea of what Lynch is up to.
Yeah, right. Fortunately for Donnegan, there's no Divining Top or anything like that in play for Lynch. So if they're trading cards, you know, removal spell for creature, Thoughtseize for a card in hand, at least Lynch isn't pulling ahead.
Right.
So he will lead with Thoughtseize. Get our first look over at Paul Lynch's hand. Yeah, he's going to hide the good ones. It's Brainstorm. And Dylan has none of that. He's going to daze the Brainstorm.
This stage is especially nice because Donnegan does not have more lands anyway.
So this is actually a real strong Thoughtseize for Dylan. He sees Predict, Monastery Mentor, and 2 fetch lands. He'll take the threat, and now Paul is drawing off the top.
And the reason that the Miracles decks play Predict is that they're pretty good at knowing the top card of their library, so they can use Predict to draw 2 cards. Yeah, however, right now he doesn't know that, so he's going to actually have to predict and try to name that card to convert anything for that. And Lynch picks up Jace the Mind Sculptor, but at least a land off of casting that one, and 2 off of casting it and playing around the potential days. So we go back to Donnegan's turn. He'll cast a Brainstorm.
Yeah, so it's Donnegan possibly trying to win this counter at this fair fight with Paul Lynch. You see, he's still got Force of Will in his hand. A lot of times now, in the more fair matchups of Legacies, those lead players cut some number of their Force of Wills or cut all of them.
If both decks are operating under the same rules of engagement, then Force of Will starts to become a very bad card. It's a 2-for-1. Miracles is sort of an exception to this because they have so many permanents that can singularly win the game or do the bulk of winning a game. Counterbalance, Jace the Mind Sculptor, where having Force of Will just starts to make sense.
So it's like you have to counter their turn 1 top.
Right.
Like at all costs.
Yeah, frequently you'll want to Force a Will to turn 1 top.
See Paul fetching out more basics from his deck with those 2 fetch lands. And then goes for Jace the Mind Sculptor. Dylan says absolutely not.
hard pass on that one.
And now with Paul tapped down, Dylan will make his play. It's his threat of true name Nemesis. It's one of the most troublesome threats for the Miracles deck. And that sequence of counter into threat was really a good play for Dylan.
And this one demands a Terminus every time, and Paul has one, but it's in his hand. That's not where you want it.
Well, one Brainstorm could fix that, but he's going to have to find it.
There is one Council's Judgment in the deck as well.
If only we hadn't fetched all these basics, you know. Right now he would need another land to cast it. So Dylan starts the clock up. True name Nemesis sends 3 damage in. Look, hides behind a shield here. You see Force of Will, blue card, and Abrupt Decay in Donnegan's hand.
That Abrupt Decay looking like a blank card the way this game is playing out. If only it was blue.
Yeah, if you could pitch it. If only he could pitch anything to Force of Will.
Right.
Doesn't mean he has a possible counterbalance or Monastery Mentor covered. I get the point. It's not doing what he wants. Go back over to Paul Lynch. Sensei's Divining Top the draw. See if that is worthy of Dylan's Force of Will. No, it is not. We draw again. Dylan hits Paul down to 11. Plays a fetch land and passes. Paul's going to try to recover here with the top of his deck. Engineered Explosives, it looks like, is one of those cards.
Yeah, that looks to be the one he's trying to leave on top here.
So that's actually an answer for True Name. Well, as is this, there's a Brainstorm in the top 3. So both, he could use either to try to get rid of True Name Nemesis.
Yeah, found a few answers to his problem.
See which one he went for. Looks like he just says go. He picked up the Brainstorm using Divining Top. Dylan swings again to knock Lynch down to 8. He picked up a copy of Spell Pierce. Says go, and now it's going to be an end-step Brainstorm from Paul Lynch. It looks like he actually has a copy of Gideon, Ally of Zendikar, in his hand.
And this Brainstorm found him a Flight of the Strands who will finally have double white. Needs to deal with a True Name Nemesis first, but he has a couple ways to potentially pull that one off.
Paul Lynch's teammate takes game 1 as well. Ace of Snyder on Grixis control defeats Arya-Roohi on burn. This is a place that we've seen Arya at before.
Yes.
And we have another result from in the tournament. The team of Daryl Ayers, Dan Musser, and Shaheen Sarani picking up a win. They moved to 12-3 on the tournament. Now, it's going to work out that there's going to be 5 teams at that record. So we will have a tie-break fight for the top 8. But it's going to involve that team of 3.
The top 4.
You're right, for the top 4. We're going to have, yeah. There's going to be 4 teams at 12-3, and 3 of them are going to make the elimination rounds.
And after the Brainstorm, Lynch has decided to leave the Terminus a little bit further down. The card he picked up there, he has Pyroblast in hand now and the Flight of the Strand. He wants to be able to actually fight some battles.
And how about this? Dylan's going to go for Abrupt Decay on the Sensei's Divining Top.
Yeah, as of now, if he trades it up and the top card is Terminus, Paul's already drawn a card this turn.
But the Terminus was 1 more deep, wasn't it? Predict from Paul Lynch. 2 copies in his main. He predicts Sensei's Divining Top and then shows Terminus, which Vendilion Click in response to the Miracle trigger, Pyroblast on Vendilion Click. So because Terminus is in your hand, when you actually Miracle it, Dylan was hoping to Vendilion Click the Terminus away so it couldn't be cast. But Pyroblast, so we have basically Predict worked. He named Divining Top, put it in the graveyard, drew 2. Revealed the first draw, which was Terminus, to Miracle. And says, I'm going to Miracle this. Dylan says, in response, Vendilion Click you. And Paul says, okay, Red Elemental Blaster, Vendilion Click.
And now Dylan is still sitting on that Force of Will. Looks like the blue card he's thinking about pitching is Delver of Secrets. So his options are fight this war, pitch that Delver, use the Force of Will, hope that that resolves. Alternatively, let the True Name go to the bottom of the library and then cast the Delver. Then you still have the Force of Will in hand. Given that the True Name Nemesis is just more valuable on the battlefield, I think it makes sense to fight this battle, though we know that Lynch does still have Engineered Explosives to deal with the True Name.
So Red Blast counters the Vendilion Click. Terminus, I think Dylan wanted to know whether he was supposed to force the Terminus Okay, this is great. What happens? He let that counter war happen. He let Paul pay the 1 mana for Terminus, and then he spell pierced.
Right,
So he still has the Delver plus blue card in hand. Or Force plus blue card. It's Delver and Force in his hand.
Right, and they'll be able to use that on the Engineered Explosives.
Right, Paul goes to 5, so Dylan actually wins the exchange. 6th land from Paul Lynch. 3 mana, Engineered Explosives on 3. This is going to get the Force of Will immediately from Donnegan. But Lynch, I think he's going to fight back. Believe he has Snapcaster Mage for his Pyroblast, I believe.
Yeah, I think I saw that one too.
So he's going to win the counter war. Now he fetched down to 4 to make this play. Which means even if he snaps into Pyroblast, there's one more hit of the True Name coming. That's going to put him at 1.
Mm-hmm. They'll stop him from using any fetch lands, but of course Sultai Delver doesn't have any kind of reach.
Yeah, it's not Teamer Delver. He's not going to get lightning bolted.
He could top deck Stifle to stifle Engineered Explosives.
Dylan sends his opponent down to 1, plays Gurmag Angler. How about that?
It's a good one too. 7 is not equal to 3.
Go back over to Paul Lynch. He has to answer both creatures. He'll start by trying for a Ponder. Now there's... What about Gideon Ally of Zendikar, though?
That makes a steady stream of blockers.
But because he's casting Ponder here, he can't play both Gideon and this might have been a misstep. He cannot crack Engineer Explosives and play Gideon. Because his land in hand, that's a fetch land. He can't use it.
Yep. That seems to be the way that works.
Top 3 draws. The explosives part is easy. He has to crack that.
Right. Otherwise, the True Name just kills him.
Sees hand Gideon, fetch land. 1 more. That 3rd card's something he picked off Ponder. Sensei's Divining Top. That's a pretty good one.
He's going to try to find a Terminus, I imagine.
Cracks Engineered Explosives. Well, I believe the top card of his deck is, one of these top 3 was a Swords to Plowshares.
Okay, that deals with the Gurmag Angler.
Angler swings, Snapcaster chumps. Does Dylan have any more plays? He says go. And Paul's going to go ahead and end step, tap the top to draw a card, and then swords away the Gurmag Angler.
And even if this doesn't work, he gets to untap and cast Gideon, which covers the Angler as well.
Donnegan going to 21. Dylan Donnegan has his Miracle's opponent down to 1, but that last damage is looking like it's hard to come by. Gideon Ally of Zendikar is it seems like it's going to be a very hard card for Dylan to get through.
Really just needs to produce another True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
In theory, a Delver could work, but that one's vulnerable to more things.
Paul Lynch will draw top. But first, it looks like we're going to go for the Planeswalker. Here's Gideon. Pause for a second and says, yeah, that does resolve. Gain's going to make a 2-2. And then Paul plays Divining Top. We're back to Donnegan.
Donnegan's last card was Brainstorm, and he picked up a fetch land for the turn.
Draws fetch land, and a blue card. So plenty to put back here.
Looks like a Conspiracy Stifle is the remaining card in hand now.
All right, well, some good news, though, for Dylan Donnegan. His teammate, Corey McDuffie, once again, putting them in a great position. He's up a game with his 4-color Saheeli deck.
Games have taken a little bit long for Comfort in the Modern table, though.
Yeah, if Arya hasn't won yet, that's concerning.
Right.
Well, we did see against Grixis control. We saw Arya manage to win that matchup on the late games of the turns against Rudy Brixa.
It certainly can happen.
But I agree with you. The longer this goes, the less excited I would be. And Paul continues just his commitment to making more knights, swings for 2 and makes another.
Gideon's like a self-contained monastery mentor.
Now, do we have anything like Creeping Tar Pit, another way that Dylan can sneak damage across?
Just lands that tap for mana and wastelands.
So, Dylan drawing one off the top, and Paul trying to close it out with the help of Sensei's Divining Top. Now, because he's at 1, he actually can't reset the top of his deck very well. He can't use fetch lands to do that. What he can use is this Ponder.
There's also another Predict somewhere in the deck.
Yeah, he has 2 copies.
It certainly gets harder, though.
And keeps the attack, swings for 4, makes a 3rd knight. Wasteland, a draw for Dylan. He has Abrupt Decay, Wasteland, Stifle, and that's not going to do it. At this point, it is too much to come back from. So 2 games to 0. Paul Lynch on Miracles finishes the day with a win in Legacy. Now, if one of his teammates can pull off a match, it will send them into the 12-3 and looking to top 8. So, Paul Lynch, once again, we have a 2-0 here. So the next thing on the docket, if Asa Snyder with Grixis control can pull off the win in this match, then it's going to be over. He won game 1 against Arya-Roohi's burn deck. We'll see if he can get game 2 in the same match.
They should be pretty far along in that match as well. We'll find out exactly how that is going when we get over there.
All right, we're going to go into that match. Game 2 is already underway between Roohi and Snyder. Now, we've seen Arya-Roohi burn as well. Right now, Asa Snyder at 11, Arya-Roohi looking at 6. And this might be the match for the team of Pospichal, Snyder, and Lynch. You see both Kalitas, Trader of Get, and Tassiger in play. With Asa at 11, Eidolon of the Great Revel looks like it's not going to get the job done. Corey McDuffie, his game 1 win impressive, but may not matter here.
Yep. Arya looks to be way too far behind here. That Kalitas has already connected. As you see, it's tapped currently. And Arya down to 6. Anything that he casts is going to damage him off of his Eidolon. Really looking for more of a, looking like more of a liability for him than anything.
Teammates just conferring it. Can anything go wrong here? Activate Creeping Tar Pit, swing the team. It's 3 attackers. All of them have 3 power. Arya's a 6 and can only block 1. If he has nothing in hand, this is lethal. His card, Boros Charm's not going to do it. So a clean 4 games. Asa Snyder and Paul Lynch both pull off the match wins, and with it, their team wins the round and ends the tournament at 12-3.
All right, that's the record where they might be in.
Yeah, there's going to be 4 teams at 12-3. 3 of them will make it into the top 4, where they will join Sam Pardee, Matt Nass, and Ben Stark.
And for McDuffie-Roohi and Donnegan, still a really good tournament. X4 here. Solid performance.
All right, so matchup signed. And that should be it for our round number 15 matches. So now here's what's going to work.